And you are live. Okay. Okay, I just got notification saying that we are live. It appears like the sound is working. This yeah, I'm a fairly technical guy. In fact, my day job is teaching people how to use software in a um, in a global company. So, you know, I feel like I got at least a little bit of technical abilities, but these live streams just have been kicking my rear end. Um, Having trouble getting them ready, but it appears like everything is working. So, all right, let me put this off to the side. We don't need that. All right, good morning. Good Saturday morning. Saturday before Easter. Uh, Hope everybody is having a good day. This is, again, this was kind of last minute. The stream yesterday seemed to go okay, so thought I would do a recap of the Shoji panels that I was doing. Do a little bit more work on them and get some paper on there. So we'll take this now to the next step. But how's everybody doing this morning? Hey, if you pop in, just drop a comment down below. Let me know that you're here. And if I don't see your comment right away, please forgive me for that. Between doing the actual work and watching the video, you know, I get a little bit. Good morning, Chris. Wow, good to see you here. Good to see you. And thank you for the comment that you left on the last one. That was a lot of good information. Hope you're doing well today. Um, I will tell you, Chris, I appreciate you very much and the fact that you are uh, willing to tell me when things aren't going well and giving ideas on how to improve that. I really do appreciate your wisdom and helping there. So today I'm going to be working on these shoji panels that I started yesterday. But before I do that, I actually want to share a couple of um, estate sale finds that I had. So I went to a couple of estate sales and picked up what I think are some good deals. I got a number 4 and a number 5 for $5 each. I'm not going to show you those. Those are both in pretty rough shape. At the very least, though, they're good for parts. So I figure $5 for a number 4, $5 for a number 5. Even if I can't get them working, they'll be good. But this one right here, this is a number 3, and I've still got the price tag on it. I spent $10. I didn't even haggle over this one. Uh, I think a number 3 might actually be a good user for some kids. This might actually end up going into one of the student boxes. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to give this up or not, but I think this is a really good size for a young user. Everything appears to be in working order. There is quite a bit of surface rust, but no real pitting. $10. So I know I'm pretty happy with that one. Okay. So the other thing I picked up that I want to show you is this monstrosity. Okay, 15 on this, and this is something that I had no reason to buy. other than the fact that I thought it was pretty cool and I liked it, and it was $15. It's in good working order. This is going to have to be oiled. I can't break that loose, but um, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get that fixed. This is a fairly new drill bit, so um, it was working not that long ago. So $15 for this monster. And when I say monster, this thing is heavy. Solid metal, but good gears, steel plates there. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if I'm ever going to use it, but this was I couldn't pass it up for 15 bucks. So bought a couple of other things as well. I bought a bird cage awl for, I think I spent $2 on that. Another brace. I got a problem when it comes to braces. Okay, I got 2 of them hanging up on the wall. I got 3 of them out in the main shop. They're all in good working order. I don't know why I bought another brace. Now this one though doesn't have the 3 jaws, or the actually the, I don't know, what do you call this thing? What do you call this part right here? I'm drawing a blank. Okay. It doesn't have this. What it's got is the 2 jaws here and a screw in the side that tighten it down. So an older style. And again, I paid $2 for that. I don't think that's a useful tool at all, but I think it's pretty cool. So so that was my estate sale hauls. This is the one that I really think is the better deal there. But got to get that cleaned up. The drill, I don't know what I'm ever going to do with it, but like I said, I thought it was pretty cool. All right, so today I'm going to work on these Shoji panels, but I thought I'd do a recap real quick of how things went yesterday. So this is, I've got the 4 panels made, and I've got them in order. So this is the one that I worked on during the live presentation. And you all saw the struggles that I was having, and the difficulties. Several pieces of wood split on me, so I had to use CA glue to reinforce those. The joints were either a little bit too tight or a little bit too loose. They were much better than what I had done previously, so I'm not disappointed with that. My number one disappointment though is this piece right here. You can see that it actually cants up a little bit, and that's because there is a piece of waste that is in there in the slot that I did not notice before I put that in there. So yeah, can't decide whether I'm going to remake this one or not. I don't know. This bothers me. But it's real. It is what it is. Okay. So number 2 and number 3. What I did something a little bit different there. Instead of cutting out one panel at a time, I actually cut all of the pieces for both panels. And instead of using this tiny piece of key stock here, probably can't even see it on the main camera. Instead of using that, I switched to my Veritas 1/8 inch plow plane blade. And the advantage to that is that this part right here is a 1/4 inch. So it gave me a good flat surface to hold on to. This is precisely 1/8 of an inch. And of course, this only works if the wood itself is thickness to exactly 1/8 of an inch in, and it was. I took a lot of time making sure that these are exactly 1/8 inch thick. And by doing that method, number 2 and number 3 actually went together very easily. A little bit slower on the cuts, but these two snap together. They look good. They're not perfectly square, but they're very close to being perfectly square. So very, very pleased with number 2 and number 3. So you would think number 4 would be even better, but what happened is I actually took some shortcuts. So rather than going back to this method that had proven to be very successful, I actually took a piece like this, and I had one for the cross members and one for the uprights, and I used that as the template. So I would line that up there, and I would take my knife and I would mark them out. Turns out that that is not precise enough. So as I'm putting together number 4, I am primarily too tight. In fact, I think at least 3/4 of the cuts were too tight. And what that stems from is, like, when I came in here, I was actually cutting on the inside, all right, like this. And you would think that, I mean, that got me close, but not close enough. Okay, so I had to go back in. I had to take my knife and widen the gap for almost every one of them. And even when I did that, I had a little bit of difficulty getting them to go together, but it actually worked. So if I'm going to rank them, number 1 was by far the worst, but it was the first one, so that's not surprising. Number 4 was pretty bad, but it worked. Number 2 and number 3, using the method with the Veritas plow plane blade, actually went pretty good. So so next step then is to take these 4 panels, and with my flush cut saw, we are going to trim off all of the edges. So, you know, as people come in and out, I hope you'll just drop a message letting me know that you're here. Kings and Queens, just got a message from you. Good morning. Glad to see you here. I titled this session Sloyd and Shoji. So I'm going to be working on these Shoji panels, but if you've got any comments or questions or suggestions that revolve around teaching children, in particular the hand tool usage, certainly would like to see that. Again, I'm going to tell you, I get distracted. I get focused on doing the woodworking. I might miss some comments coming through. If I miss your comment, please just drop it in there again. Keep dropping it in until I see it. I am not ignoring you. I get distracted. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and start with my flush cut saw, and just as carefully as I can, I'm going to cut these off, and again, making them as flush as I possibly can. I may come in with a shooting board after this and see if I can clean that up even more, because that right there, if you were, well, I'll tell you what, let me finish this. See, I bounce around from subject to subject, and I got to stay a little bit more focused here. So, I am curious as to what projects you've got going on in your shop. So, all right, that's a nice flush cut. So what are you working on in your shop these days? All right, that's a good cut. That's a good cut. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to plane that down, I think, because if you remember when we do this Shoji lamp, this will be the upright, and then this piece is going to come in right here. Okay, so I need a good tight grip. Can you see? And there's a gap there at the bottom. So I'm definitely going to have to come in there with a plane or a chisel just to clean that up. All right, so Chris, you mentioned on your other comment that you've made a lot of cuts like this before. What kind of project were you doing that caused you to have to make so many repetitive small cups? And by the way, thank you for that tip that you left. I'm definitely gonna give that a try. Currently working on making hand planes for custom paneling, for a short run of custom paneling. Wow, how cool is that? How cool is that? That sounds pretty ambitious. That is. That is way above my skill level, way above my pay grade. So, good deal. This is one of the joints that I had to reinforce with CA glue yesterday, so that's going to be a little bit tougher to pull out there. Elias, I really like the calm effect that the Shoji screens bring to the ambience where it is installed. So do I. I tell you, I've never built one of these before, but I put a link down to on the last video, the last live I did. I put a link to Adrian Preda, and I don't know that I'm saying his name right. He doesn't talk much. He actually he lets his work speak for him. But he makes some absolutely beautiful Shoji and Kumiko style lamps. I'm not very interested in Kumiko so much because Kumiko is, to me, it's busy. There's a whole lot going on in there, and people that can do it they're just amazing, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for people that can actually do it. But to me, that's a little too busy. There's just too much stuff going on in there. The Shoji, on the other hand, tends to be more sedate, if you will, if that's a good term. So the way I got turned on to this, actually to begin with, is I can't saw and talk at the same time. So the way I kind of got turned on to this is I was looking at craftsman style lamps and craftsman style furniture in general. So one of the architects that really caught my eye was Green and Green, the Green and Green brothers. Really caught my eye. Of course, there's Stickley and others out there that are very famous for their work, and I looked at all that. But the Green and Green, I was very intrigued with that. And then I started, as I'm looking at images of Green and Green, I start seeing these images of Shoji, and I had never heard about Shoji lamps before. But they start appearing side by side on the screen, and I'm like, I mean, there's so many similarities between the craftsman style and the Japanese style, and I had no idea. I didn't know this until until I actually started reading up on it. Is that Green and Green in particular were highly influenced by the Japanese artist. So I think it's just natural that their lamps would be influenced by the Japanese. And then, of course, as I'm doing more reading and things like that, I come across Adrian Preda and others that were doing Shoji and Kumiko, and especially watching Adrian. He is, you talk about peaceful. His videos, there's almost no talking. In fact, I don't think there's any talking in any of his videos. I don't think so. Anyway, his videos usually have some type of calming music in the background, and it's him doing some amazing work, and you hear the sound of the tool, the plane, taking a shaving or a good sharp chisel, and it's just I don't know, maybe it's a Zen-like thing going on. I don't know, but anyway, that's kind of what got me turned on to this, and I saw he was doing some really really good intricate stuff, and I said, I'm gonna give that a shot. What's the worst thing that can happen? I've got a few dollars in cherry and oak that I'm going to throw away. But I said on the live stream yesterday that I got started on the live stream, and before I know it, I had streamed for 58 minutes, and I had completely lost track of time, and it was just because the this whole, I don't even know how to describe it right, but this whole issue of just no power tools. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I did the planing and the ripping. I did all of that out in the main shop, which is where all my power tools are. But I sitting in here yesterday in my hand tool area, just sitting here cutting, chiseling. I went home yesterday feeling so calm and at peace. Okay. Chris, the small cutting I was doing was for Kumiko. Kumiko wall dividers for a scale model for an architect. Man, Chris, every time you type something, I am impressed. So you are obviously a pro at this. So Chris, for the rest of you that are watching, Chris is one of my, I guess, one of my most regular viewers, and it's obvious that he has a very high level of skill. But Chris is always very encouraging with comments, willing to tell me when I'm making a mistake, but he always has a suggestion on how to do it better. So that's where we get into, constructive criticism, and that's kind of why I do this. So, I've mentioned on several of my calls that, or several of my videos, that my ultimate goal here, when I retire, and I'm going to be retiring here in a couple of years, Lord willing, my ultimate goal is to have a kind of a community of craftspeople, primarily woodworking, and hopefully get some highly experienced woodworkers to join, and then be able to share that with children in the area. Sorry, I'm getting some squeakiness going on there. And that's kind of what got me started in this whole Sloyd thing. Is I know I'm not a great woodworker, but you know what? I'm an okay woodworker, but I am a pretty good teacher. And one of the concepts of Sloyd is that your ability to teach and your ability to work with children is actually more important than your ability to woodwork. Because in Sloyd, it's not so much about teaching the kids woodworking, but encouraging them to teach themselves and to learn on their own. So it's more about setting the stage and getting. Okay, Chris says he's not a pro. He's just been at this for over 40 years. All right, you may not be a pro, but I certainly respect what you do. So, so anyway, that's kind of my goal, is to be able to, create a space where new woodworkers, and particularly young woodworkers, have a chance to explore the craft and see see whether or not they like it, and two, if they do, give them an opportunity to kind of develop their own style and way of doing things. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm going with this. I have to say that I truly enjoy the hand tool woodworking. Okay, I had a bit of a weak joint there. It didn't glue up properly. Okay, so before I cut that, so down here it glued here, the glue did not take. I was afraid that might happen, quite honestly. So we're gonna reinforce this with a little bit of CA glue. The reason I'm using CA glue is this doesn't have to be structural. It has to be solid. All right. I got 2 complete panels done, and that's the first issue that I've had. So all right, let's see. I agree with the calming and centering effect of hand tool woodworking. That's actually what got me into woodworking in the first place. And when I am in the shop, time flies back. So that's Elias. I agree. I take it, and when I got into woodworking, I actually I used to watch Norm Abram a lot, you know, and he was like the godfather of woodworking for many of us. And I would watch him with all his big power tools, and I'd be really impressed with what he output. And I kept saying to myself, someday I'm going to have a big workshop just like Norm Abram, and I'm going to have all the fancy power tools and things like that. But now that I have, not nearly as many as Norm Abram had, but now that I've got a shop full of power tools, I find myself turning them on less and less. And so my main shop out there is about 800 square feet. So it's a good sized shop, and I got a big you know, assembly table out there, table, all that stuff. My hand tool area is literally 6 feet by 8 feet. All right, so I got 48 square feet that I'm doing the hand tool work, and I find myself in this spot far more now than I do out in the main shop. Okay. Chris de-stresses with hand tools as well. And I think, and Elias says, I think that teaching woodworks to kids is essential as well as any craft. Agree, any craft. My grandpa was the one that showed me how to work with my hands, tools, and I am forever grateful. Yes. You know, one of the things is my son was never very interested in this, but I'm also going to say that when my son was at the prime age for woodworking, I was working, traveling for work, and I'm never going to get that time back. Okay. Now, I've got one grandchild and another one on the way. So I am committed to, as I have opportunities to spend time with my grandkids, to, I don't know if you want to say make up for lost time, because like you can't make up for that. You can't get that back. But hopefully show them and get them started earlier. You know, and I'll be honest with you, I wish I had discovered this whole hand tool thing. I wish I had discovered this years ago. But my whole perception of hand tool woodworking was completely, it was completely, I mean, it was wrong. To me, hand tool woodworking was something that you did at Colonial Williamsburg or someplace where you were trying to preserve the past. So it wasn't about you as a woodworker, it was about preserving woodworking of the past. And that is so far from the truth. That is so far from the truth that honestly I wish I had discovered this years ago. And I gotta credit the internet and COVID, of all things. COVID, because and I know that sounds kind of funny, but when I moved to St. Augustine back in 2020, I got hired in this job in January of 2020. And in February of 2020, I was traveling for business, and I got word that all flights or all trips from the company were being canceled and get back home as quickly as possible. Had no idea really what was going on. We had heard COVID. COVID was a thing, but it hadn't really impacted anybody. So this was February of 2020, where I am sent back to, I'm sent home from the West Coast, and from there things just went sour. Went south. So I was trying to buy a house at the time because my wife was still living at our previous place. But the real estate market, first it crashed, and then it just went absolutely bonkers from all the people in the Northeast trying to move to Florida, buying properties sight unseen. Literally, sight unseen. It was a combination of funny and tragic. I don't know, but a house would come up on the market, and before I could actually go see the house, somebody from New York or New Jersey had already called in with a full cash offer. So there was no, looking for a house or anything like that. So I ended up having to actually get a house built. That's the only way I could really lock in a house. And what that did is ended up putting me in temporary housing much longer than I expected. My wife was not with me. And so I spent a lot of hours on YouTube. And that is when I first discovered Rex Kruger. He was the first one. And he was actually the first time I had ever seen somebody doing hand tool woodworking because they loved it, and it wasn't a job at some historical society, and that kind of opened my eyes. I'm living in an apartment, by the way, when I'm doing this. I'm living in an apartment, small apartment, and I'm like, I can't bring my power tools to the apartment. They're still out of state, but I can build Rex's low Roman workbench and do hand tool woodworking. And this bench top that you see here is actually the low Roman bench that I built. And I used that in my apartment for 2 years. I did hand tool woodworking in my apartment for 2 years. Nothing fancy. Didn't have any tools hardly. I had, I don't know if you can see it, this plane right here. That was the very first vintage tool that I bought. It's an old Ohio plane, number 26, I think. I'm not sure of the number, but anyway, the first time I got that blade, what I considered sharp at the time, it was just my version of sharpening. Had no idea, but the first time I felt that plane slide across the wood and make a little. I'm pretty well hooked. Okay. So fast forward so that's 2022 into 23, and then that's when I ended up getting to this shop. Brought my power tools in, worked on power tools for a while, and I wasn't feeling the love of power tools anymore. And then, slightly over a year ago is when I kind of started getting a little bit more serious about this whole hand tool thing. So anyway, so that's my story. Sorry. Yeah, Rex helped a lot of people, Chris, during COVID. And so from Rex I found Wood by Right. Uh-oh, something's not sounding good there. Okay. Another joint that didn't get glued properly. So we'll have to reinforce that one as well. So yeah, Rex helped a lot of people. James Wright helped a lot of people. And then, you've heard me throw out the name Paul Sellers. I just, anything Paul Sellers puts out, I make sure I watch because every bit of it's gold. Every bit of it's gold. So. All right. I appreciate you guys sticking with me here. This can't be very exciting watching me saw a bunch of wood like this. But certainly always open for ideas. All right, so I was also one of the lucky ones during COVID because, I was deemed an essential employee. Not everybody at my company had that, but I was deemed an essential employee, and so I did not lose my job. Nobody that was really close to me was directly impacted, but I know a lot of people that had friends and family that were impacted, very significantly by COVID. All right, let's reinforce this joint here. So Adrian uses what appears to be basswood. I think it's basswood in his particular thing, which is even softer than cherry. I'm using cherry, local cherry, by the way. There's a local sawmill that produces, using local domestic. So I can't get. Being in Florida, I am limited in what I can get locally. Can't get walnut. Can't get ash. I can get some oak, things like that. So Chris is watching this and fitting a wood plane body, so about the same level of excitement. Well, could be, but I'm fitting a plane body. Man, that's pretty cool. All right, so I got two. I'm going to let that. Should be okay by now. All right, so next step in the Shoji panels is to install the Shoji paper. All right, so this is Shoji paper I got off of the internet, Amazon to be precise. And what we're going to do is glue this on here like that. Now to do that, I have some wax paper. And I have a bottle of Elmer's glue. So this is just one way that I've seen people do this. So if there's better ways, I'll let anybody kind of. I don't want to try and brush glue onto the back of this. So that's why I'm thinking this, press it down, get glue, and then we'll come in here and we'll press it down in place. I don't know of a better way to do it. If you got any ideas, let me know. But this seems to work. I did make one Shoji panel previously. The only person that ever saw it was my wife. All right. So hang on. I'm going to take this into the other room and put a book on it. Whoa. Definitely we need to do some sweeping in here. All right, let's go ahead and take the second one. So after the glue dries, I'll come back in and trim this nice and tight. I think this is working. I think this is working pretty good. All right. I do think I'm going to have to come back in. I think I'll just chisel these. I don't think I'm going to try and shoot them. I think that's too... I think that's too much stress on the joint. So what do you think? Yeah, should I shoot them or just chisel them? I think I'm gonna just chisel them. I mean, they're close, but they're not close enough. They just won't get us a tight fit. Okay, I think before I put that on there, I'm going to go ahead and take this last little piece off. And which side is going to be the better one? Okay, I think that's the better visual. I know there's a lot of wasted glue here. But I don't, the idea of trying to brush glue on such narrow side. let's see, what does it say? The wax paper is definitely better than when I used an acid brush on each piece. Yes. That was my original thought, was to use an acid brush on each piece. And again, I think it was Adrian. There were several people I watched that made Shoji and Kumiko. And I think it was Adrian that used the wax paper. So, what do you think? What do you think? This is, I guess this is my first complete set of Shoji screens. Okay, I'm gonna go put this over there and put a book on it. Whew. All right. What time is it? All right. According to the clock, it is 9:56. Wow. Wow. That is something. That is something. Okay. I think that is going to wrap it up then. I was actually going to start working on these double half laps. Can you see that? Double half laps? This is one I made a while back. Pretty rough, but I think I can do better now. So I was going to start that, but I think I'm going to call it. I think I'm going to call it for now. All right, friends. Thank you so much for stopping by. I do appreciate it. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, especially tomorrow is Easter. So happy Easter to all of you. I hope you have a great time with friends and family. And God bless you all. All right. Thank you.